Hello and welcome everyone to our Isaiah study. We are going to be covering chapters 38 through 41 this evening. So thank you all for joining. And Silvi, you can go ahead and start. We have, you can just read through verses 1 through 14 to start.
In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death, and Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amoz, came unto him, and said unto him, Thus says the Most High, Order thy household, for thou art dying, and shalt not live. Then Hezekiah turned his face towards the wall of the house of the sanctuary, and prayed before the Most High, and said, Hear my prayers, Most High, remember, I beseech thee, how have I served before thee in truth and with a perfect heart, and I have done that which is right in thy eyes. And Hezekiah wept sore. Then the words of the prophecy came from before the Most High to Isaiah, saying, Go and say to Hezekiah, Thus says the Most High, the Elohim of David thy father, Thy prayer has been heard by me. Thy tears are observed by me. Behold, I would add to thy days 15 years. And I will deliver thee and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria. And I will defend this city. And this should be a sign unto thee from before the Most High, that the Most High will do this thing that hath promised. Behold, I will turn back the shadow on the hour lines by which the sun is gone down on the dial of Ahaz. 10 hours backwards, and the sun returned 10 hours on the figure of the hour lines, which it had gone down. The writing of the thanksgiving for the miracle which had been done for Hezekiah, the king of the tribe of the house of Judah, when he had been sick and was healed for his sickness. I said, in the sorrow of my days, I shall go into the gates of the grave. But because he remembered me for good, an addition has been made to my years. I thought I should not appear again before the terrible Elohim in the land of the house of his Shekinah, in which is length of life, and I should no more serve before him in the house of the sanctuary, from whence shall go forth joy into all the inhabitants of the earth. Neither should I dwell in Jerusalem, the holy city. My habitation is cut down. From the children of my generation, my days are taken away. They are cut off and gone away from me. They are folded up like a shepherd's tent. My life is cut off like a weaver's web. From the glory of my kingdom, I am gone into captivity. My days and my nights are ended. I roar like the morning, like a lion that roars when he breathes the bones of a beast. Though on account of my sorrow all my bones are broken, my days and my nights are come to an end. As a swallow chirps, which is caught, so I chirped, and I moaned like a dove. I lifted up mine eyes, that refreshing might come to me from before him, whose Shekinah is in the highest heaven. Most High, hear my prayers, grant my petition.
Thank you. So, we have here the chapter that talks about Hezekiah's illness, which was some form of leprosy. He had boils in his skin, and he was so sick to the point of death, as we see in verse 1. And this is basically, he is reminding Abba of what he's done for him, or how he has lived for him and been righteous. And because of that, the Most High overturns that declaration of death over his life. So, or, well, yeah, basically, because Isaiah initially tells him, "Thus saith the Most High, order thy household, for thou art dying and shall not live." So initially he's telling him, this is something that you're sick and you're going to die because of this particular illness. And so we have some connections here. We also see that once that decision is overturned or taken back, the Most High gives him a sign. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. And then Hezekiah goes into basically like a lament, thinking about the brevity of life, how temporal this life truly is, and we're able to get some introspective thought about that as well. So let's look at some scripture connections, starting from verse 1. So this, for your notes, you can write down that 2 Kings 20 and 2 Chronicles 32 are the chapters that tie in with this chapter. And you can read those in full, and obviously they'll have, a few details, different details as well to add into it. But just for reference, we have 2 Chronicles 32 and 24 that says, "In those days Hezekiah was sick to the death, and prayed to the Most High, and he spake unto him, and he gave him a sign." So obviously that's a summary of everything that took place through the first 9 verses, or the first 8 verses of the chapter. And then we have verse 2 reminded me of Matthew 6 and 6. So verse 2 says, "Then Hezekiah turned his face toward the wall and prayed to the Adon." So we see here, Messiah said, "But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly." So we see obviously that Hezekiah, and as we've seen in previous chapters, Hezekiah had intimacy with the Father. He knew where to go, how to approach him in prayer, the things to say. He had a dialogue. It wasn't just him speaking and asking for what he wanted. He would speak, he would thank him, he would remind him of his good works, of what he had done for him, of what the Most High had done for Hezekiah in the past. Just recounting his goodness in a form that I would say that that's a form of worship. When you thank him for what he's already done, that's a form of acknowledging him, of worshiping him, of acknowledging his majesty, his kingship. So he would do that. He had that. It was a back and forth type of conversational relationship that he had with the Most High. We also have some Sirach again tonight, and starting with Sirach 48, 22 verses 48 verses 22 through 24, which says, "For Hezekiah did what was pleasing to the Most High, and he kept firmly to the ways of his ancestor David. And he was commanded by the prophet Isaiah, who was great and trustworthy in his visions. In Isaiah's days, the sun went backward, and he prolonged the life of the king. By his dauntless spirit, he saw the future and comforted the mourners in Zion." So obviously, this is the sign that the Most High gives to Hezekiah, to show him that he was going to prolong his life by 15 years. And this reminded me, of course, of when the sun stood still during Joshua's time as well. He's given different signs, right? The 3 years of drought during why am I missing his Elijah's time as well. So there's multiple ways that the Father has displayed his wondrous works to us throughout the span of scriptures, and this is just one of those many ways that he did it. There was a breakdown that I found with verse 8 that I found kind of interesting, and it also ties in with a precept in John 11:9, and I don't think I included it here. No, I didn't. But we'll go back to that because I have another connecting precept. Psalm 34, 5, and 6 connects with verses 5 and 6 here. And it says, they looked unto him and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Most High heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. So, of course, once again, this is what how the Most High answered Hezekiah and heard from the heavens to take back that prophetic word that he received, that this illness, this leprosy, was going to take his life. So, okay, now going back to what I was talking about with verse 8. Let me pull up John 11:9 really quick. And the John 11:9 is where Messiah says, aren't there 12 hours in the day? I'm gonna do some math here. I'm just gonna say it out loud, and it'll be a little bit confusing. Hopefully it won't be. Hopefully you guys will catch on. But it's really just something that I found interesting when I read it, because it's what added on those 5 extra days in the Gregorian calendar. Like it just makes sense when the math is done here. If you're not a math whiz, it's okay. I'm just gonna say it. So, okay, John 11:9. Messiah answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. And this is also when we look at the luminaries and the calendar that we follow, and why we observe Shabbat from sunrise to sunset rather than a 24-hour period, is because the day is from morning to sunset, from sunrise to sunset. But again, the Most High says to Isaiah, this is the Most High sign to you that the Most High will do what he has promised. I will make the shadow cast by the sun to go back the 10 steps it has gone down on the stairway of Ahaz. So the sunlight went back 10 steps it had gone down. In that time, they were more than likely reading time through the sundial, right? So going back the 10 steps was 10 hours. So we look at a sundial. A sundial is a 360-degree clock. If you divide that by the 12 hours of the day, you get 30 degrees. So 360 divided by 12 equals 30 degrees. So 30 degrees per each hour on the sundial. If you look at the 10 steps, then we would take off by 10 degrees. So 30 per hour. 1/3 30 per hour equaling 1/3 of, or 1/3 of the 30 of each hour, 10 degrees equaling 20 minutes. Sorry, I'm trying to read back the notes that I wrote down. So if you add 20 minutes per day times 360, it equals to 7,200 minutes 7,200 minutes per year. You divide that by 120, or divide that by 60 to make for the hour, you get 120 per year, so 120 extra hours. So 120 divided by 24 hours equals 5 days. Basically speaking, and I probably butchered the way that I broke this down. It made sense in the moment when I was reading through everything. But when you break everything down, it adds up to how we used to observe, or should have observed, according also when you read the book of Enoch, 360 days in the year, and this is now 5 days extra. Give me a minute, Ezekiel. I need you to wait. Please be patient. So with that being said, and you guys are quiet, so I can tell that I probably confused you guys, and I'm sorry. If I get a more clear explanation, or I can share the clip that I watched as well, that kind of broke things down, but it made sense when I read it at the time. But anyway,
Please do.
yes,
I'm like trying to follow the math, and I'm like, wait, what?
yeah.
The only thing that lost me was the 30, but I kind of like I saw how you said 360 and then you divided the 12, you got 36. So it was like the 30 that kind of threw me off per hour, you said?
It was 30 degrees in a full circle. So when
Okay.
you divide it, that's the 12 hours of the day of daylight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, no problem. I'll break it down more clearly because I wrote it. I didn't write it in my actual notebook. So I'll write it like in full detail to make it make sense. But yeah, the point of it all is that we have an extra 5 days in the year that don't belong. And then in the leap years, we also have the 6th day, an extra day beyond that, which means that our calendar is all out of whack. And obviously it's for a purpose, to confuse us and keep us off of the right calendar. Yes, exactly, Yasmin, to not find the signs in the heavens, to not follow the Maseroth the way that we should be following it. So, okay, I have two more precepts here. With verse 10, and I actually should have broken it down from 8 to start reading his whole speech that he speaks on afterwards, but we got through half of it so far. So verse 10, he says, as Hezekiah says, "In the prime of my life, must I go through the gates of death and be robbed the rest of my years?" So you already see that he's like contending with the Most High. Like, how could you threaten to take my life so soon, basically? And Ezekiel, I said, hold on. We have 2 Corinthians 1:9 that says, "But we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in the Elohim which raiseth the dead." So this is obviously a contrary statement to what Hezekiah spoke. This is in reverence to the Most High, in trusting what he says and what he proclaims is going to take place. He says who's going to live and who's going to die in this realm, and who's going to sleep and who's everything, he's the creator of everything. But yeah, we see Hezekiah starts to get, I guess you could say, a little bit boastful. But moving on, we have also verse 11. "I said, I shall not see the Adon, even the Adon in the land of the living. I shall behold man no more with the inhabitants of the world." And I think that the Targum said it a little bit differently here. It always happens that when I start, Ezekiel needs me. I'm sorry. Let me just get through this portion really quick. Give me a minute. I thought I shall not appear again before the terrible Haya in the land of the house of his Shekinah, in which is length of life, and I shall no more serve before him in the house of the sanctuary, from whence shall go forth joy unto all the inhabitants of the earth. Neither shall I dwell in Jerusalem, the holy city. My habitation is cut down. So here we start to see how Hezekiah is clinging to this life. And I found this very popular verse in Psalm 27 that says, I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Adon in the land of the living. So again, we're going to continue because there's more that he says, and then we'll get into a little more context of it. So Sylvie, you can finish the rest of the chapter.
Okay. What praise shall I utter and speak unto him? For he hath multiplied his kindness towards me. With what shall I serve him? And what shall I render unto him? For all the years he hath added to my life, and delivered my soul from the bitterness. Adon, thou hast said concerning all the dead, that thou wilt quicken them, and thou hast quickened my spirit before any of them. Thou hast quickened, thou hast made me to live. Behold, to them that obey the law, peace shall be multiplied before thee, but thou wilt bring bitterness to the wicked. Therefore, when I knew the day of my death, I poured out my tears in prayers before thee. My bitterness was great, but thou hast had the pleasure in my life not to destroy it, for thou hast cast all my sins far away from thy presence. For they that are in the grave do not praise thee, neither do the dead celebrate thee, nor those that descend into the pit of the place of abandon hope for thy salvation. The living should praise thee, as I do this day. The father unto their children should make them know that thy might, and they shall confess, saying that all these things are true. The Most High has promised to save us, and we will sing the song of his praise all the days of our lives in the house of the sanctuary of the Most High. For Isaiah had said, let them take a lump of figs and lay it on the boil, and he shall recover. And Hezekiah said, what is the sign that I should go up to the house of the sanctuary of the Most High?
Thank you. And again, we see here the figs are mentioned again. I started reading something about the significance of figs today, and apparently fig trees are mentioned some 44 to 50 times throughout the word, depending on the translation that you're reading. And a lot of it has to do with references to Jerusalem. And the particular one that we spoke about last week, when Messiah cursed the fig tree, it was as he was leaving Jerusalem when he was rejected by them. So I don't know, I find it very, very significant that he would curse a tree as he is leaving the town of Jerusalem, just as the same as the one who chooses to reject him will be rejected. And Jessica shared something here. It says Psalm 6 and 5. Oh, I have Psalm 6, 5 written down. I think it's for verse 18. Who praises you from the grave? For in death there is no remembrance of you. In Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead, who will praise you and give you thanks. Yes. And I think that was verse 18 that speaks about Abaddon here. Here it says Abaddon, Apollyon, Sheol. So let's talk about it. So throughout this whole speech that, or I guess reflection that Hezekiah makes from verses 10 through 20 or so, we see that Hezekiah is reflecting on mortality, and he's struggling between mortality and his unwavering commitment to serving the Most High. After living for him, for the one who he has dedicated his life to, the same one has proclaimed to take it. So there's this piercing awareness in Hezekiah's words that this life is temporal. From verse 12, with the weaver's shuttle reference, and this, I don't know, yeah, the weaver's web, as it says in the Targum, and I believe, let's see, I have cut off like a weaver in my life. And this is talking about like the sewing, the weaver, like that machine. If you think about like a sewing machine, obviously they didn't have a machine. I believe they didn't have a machine at that time, but they probably used some kind of contraption that would make it, uniform when they would weave things. So the weaver's shuttle reference, we see the fleeting nature of this life and how things are easily cut off. And this is what we, as the dust of the earth, created in his image and likeness, are aware of, as we're the only ones who he created to perceive the shortness or the brevity and the transience of our life. When I say transience, and I'm going to use that word a few times tonight, how we transition from this realm to the next. So Hezekiah perceives the hand of the Most High, but he also perceives that the Most High is weaving the fabric of existence. And each part of the loom or the pass of the shuttle on the weaver's loom is a reminder of life's beauty. Very metaphorical, how he creates this tapestry of our lives. Each tapestry is individual and unique, with all of our life situations and experiences, everything that we go through, but just as quickly as it's all woven, it can be cut off. So verses 13 and 14 sheds light on also his vulnerability, the way that he talks about how he cried and his bones shattered, the feelings of anguish that he had to the idea of death. And this is how we're able to see that no matter what your status is, no matter if you are the poorest of the poor or the richest of the rich, death in the flesh equals the playing field for our nature as man and woman in this life, in this realm. It's basically it's the great equalizer. And of course, and I have to mention it, it's why these world leaders, the globalists, are perpetually seeking to cheat it. They're always looking for a way to break through the firmament, and do these great things, these marvelous things that only the Most High can do, so that they are able to prolong their lives. Think about adrenochrome, how they drink blood to keep themselves young, and all of the things that they have done to try to cheat death. Yes, absolutely. How we take nothing with us from this life after we leave our earthly tent, this temple that we have been placed in. So Hezekiah is now contemplating his own fragility and experiencing a moment of humility, because obviously it's humbling to think about that you're going to die. And it causes him to engage in this vulnerable dialogue with the Father. And he's showing also what sets us apart from the globalists and unbelievers. And it is that dialogue, and how prayer and grace upon the rock is salvation from the pit. Because again, if death is what evens the playing field, then what gives us the advantage against the secular man? It's these words compiled into a phrase to sum up this chapter, basically. We pray and receive grace from the rock, and salvation comes into our lives, so we are delivered from the eternal pit. That's the blessed hope. That's what we receive as the promise. Yes, from death to life. Because we are grafted in, because we choose to obey him, because we choose him over the cares of this world, although, of course, we in our flesh are still going to think about the things of this life. We still have our day-to-day responsibilities that we are tied to, right? Work, school, our children, our bills, all of these things. But it's also with that knowledge, and this was an ongoing precept that I felt throughout all of these chapters that we're going to be covering today, is Ecclesiastes 1:3, that everything, or I think it's 2, verse 2, everything is meaningless because we are going to leave this life and leave everything behind. So let's start with some scripture connections here. I have Job 10:1 and Job 7:11 that go with, well, and Hebrews 12 as well, that go with verse 15. So I'm going to go ahead and read verse 15 again, just to refresh us, which says, "What shall I say? He hath both spoken unto me, and himself hath done it. I shall go softly all my years in the bitterness of my soul." Keep in mind that although the Most High has told Hezekiah, "I'm no longer taking your life, I'm prolonging your life 15 years, you can imagine that Hezekiah still has it on the back of his mind. Yes, he gave me life for 15 more years, but at that mark of 15 years, my life is going to be over. So in a sense, he still has a death sentence. He still knows that there is an expiration date to his physical body. And I think that's why, you know, we're born in this body and don't know when our day is going to come. And it's probably better that way, because how would we be living if we knew that we were going to die next week, next year, in 15 years? You know, I don't know. So going back, let's read these connecting precepts. So Job 10:1 says, "My soul is weary of my life. I will leave my complaint upon myself. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul." Job 7:11, "Therefore I will not refrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul." And we know, I'm sure everybody here has read the book of Job. We know that Job went through a whole lot of trials and turmoil and difficult things. And he questioned the Most High when he had those different tests and trials, but he never left him. He never turned his back on the Father. And so it just shows, again, our humanity here. And I try to use that word human as minimal as possible, but it shows, you know, our flesh, how we have emotions. We were created with these emotions. So there is parts of us that are going to cling to this life. So Hebrews 12:10-11 says, "For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we may be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby." So here we see the pruning process, that although it's painful, although we go through these difficult seasons, it produces a fruit of righteousness. And that's what we're after, that sadakar, to be set apart, to be his righteous and elect ones, those who endure till the end that will be saved. So there's a promise there, even when things are tough. And as Yasmin prayed tonight as well, the opening prayer about us being purified by fire to become gold, like that's the process. That's the process that we all go through, and it looks different for everybody. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so moving forward, now we have Jeremiah 31:34, which goes well with verse 17. Let's read it from the Targum. Verse 17 says, and I love it because the Targum always makes reference to the Torah itself, to the law. Behold, to them that obey the law, peace shall be multiplied before thee, and thou wilt bring bitterness to the wicked. Therefore, when I knew the day of my death, I poured out my tears in prayer before thee. My bitterness was great, but thou hast had pleasure in my life, not to destroy it, for thou hast cast all my sins far away from thy presence. Jeremiah 31:34. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Adon, for they shall all know me. For the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Adon, for I will forgive their iniquity and I will remember their sin no more. I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys hear my daughter singing, but I keep telling her to not sing and she continues to do so, and it's distracting me.
We can hear her, so you're good.
Okay. All right, I just don't, it's distracting me and I don't want it to distract everybody else too. All right. Okay, so verse 18. So we already read Psalm 6:5 as Jessica had shared it. And I have it right here as well. But then we also have Psalm 115, 17 through 18. The dead praise not the Adon, neither any that go down into silence. But we will bless the Adon from this time forth and forevermore. Praise the Adon. We also have, which is beautiful, verse 19. The living shall praise thee as I do this day. The fathers unto their children shall make known thy might, and they shall confess, saying that all these things are truth. And this ties in with one of my favorite verses, or part of it, because this is the Shema prayer. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And then we also have Deuteronomy 4:9, and that was Deuteronomy 6:7. So we have Deuteronomy 4:9. Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life, but teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. So of course we're gonna continue to proclaim his goodness from generation to generation. That's basically what this is speaking of. And then the last portion, the last two chapters that or the last two verses rather, that speak about what Isaiah was instructed, or what Isaiah instructed I imagine his servants to do. And Isaiah said, take a lump of figs, and they took and laid it on the boil, and he recovered. And Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, what shall be the sign that the Adon will heal me, and that I shall go up into the house of the Adon the third day? Always the third day here. So he was asking for permission, of course, to go back, to be able to enter back into the temple, to be able to enter back into the Most High's presence, in that last verse. That's what he's referring to here. So that is chapter 38. Who is able to read 39?
I can read.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. You can just read the whole chapter.
Okay. Okay. At the time, Merodach Baladan, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent letters and presents to Hezekiah when he had heard that he had been sick and was recovered. And Hezekiah was glad of them and showed them the house of his treasures, the silver and the gold and the spices and the precious ointment, and all the house of his vessels, and everything that was found in his treasury. And there was not anything in his house, nor in all his dominion, that Hezekiah showed them not. Then came Isaiah the prophet unto King Hezekiah, and said unto him, What said these men? And from whence came they unto thee? And Hezekiah said, They are come from a far country unto me, even from Babylon. Then said he, What have they seen in thine house? And Hezekiah answered, All that is in mine house have they seen. There is not anything in my treasures that I have not showed them. Then said Isaiah to Hezekiah, Hear the word of the Most High of hosts. Behold, the days come that all that is in thy house shall be taken away, and that which thy fathers have treasured up unto this day, yea, it shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Adon. And thy sons which shall come forth from thee shall be in the palace of the king of Babylon. Then said Hezekiah to Isaiah, Right is the word of the Most High which thou hast spoken. And he said, For there shall be peace and truth in my days.
Thank you. Very short chapter. Very, very short chapter. But this chapter, if you know, in reading it, you can see that Hezekiah made a pretty unwise decision here. We have, as a people, been compelled since birth in a progressive manner to expose ourselves publicly. And how does it begin? So of course, from birth, you have birth certificate and social security number that we're pushed to initiate right away. I don't know about you guys, but when I gave birth to all four of my children, I gave birth in hospitals, and it was like the social worker was in there every day pushing me to sign the paperwork. Where's the dad? He needs to sign. We need to submit this because then the baby's not going to have a social security number. And that, obviously, I wasn't in the truth, and that struck a fear in me, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen if my child doesn't have identification? Little did I know that I was being pushed to give my children a number in the system. And like we think that we're doing the right thing and doing that, and obviously, to know better is to do better, right? But from that label, through our social security number, then we have our license as we become an adult. And then if you look at it from like a social perspective, there's the birth announcements, the pictures, the photo shoots, the social media I don't want to say exploiting, because there are people who have their pages private and things like that. But if you're on social media and you're sharing your life on social media, that's out there and people are able to see it. And sometimes even strangers are able to see it. And I have kind of started to be intentional about not sharing pictures of my children for that reason, because my page is public. And it's public because I share, a lot of the word, and that's, my purpose on social media is trying to share as much of the word as possible, trying to share the truth, and letting Abba lead me in that. But I felt convicted a few months back and started like going back and deleting pictures that I had from the past. And I see now how the Most High is showing me, like, Hezekiah he received a letter and gifts from this son of the king of Babylon, and immediately just let the guy into the temple and showed him everything that he had. Look at all of my goods. Look at everything that I own. This is all that I have. So the Most High responds like, this was a dumb choice. You shouldn't have done this. And because you did this, they were basically scoping out what you have, and it's all going to get taken away. Now, Hezekiah had a promise. In his lifetime, there wasn't an exile. It reminds me of King David, how King David had the promise, right? He wanted to build a temple. It wasn't built in his lifetime. After Solomon was when the kingdoms divided, right? It reminded me in a way of that as well. But it is, yes, and Sylvie said it's very relevant to today, everyone wanting to show everything that they have. Exactly. It's like the vanity of vanities of this world. So because of Hezekiah's choice, Isaiah proclaimed a word against Hezekiah that sounds much like today's New World Order slogan. If we look at verse 5, let's go to verse 5. Oh, no, verse 6. Behold, the days come that all that is in thy house shall be taken away, and that which thy fathers have treasured up unto this day, it shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Most High. And the New World Order slogan, if you know, it's you will own nothing and be happy. That's basically what they're aiming for, is for there to be, I guess, two levels, the elites and the little people. And the little people will have nothing and will be owned and not own anything. So all of this took place, and Hezekiah did respond in humility. He said, what he said, what right is the word of the Adon, which he has spoken. And he said, for there shall be peace and truth in my days, because he knew that at least during his lifetime it wasn't going to happen. But this chapter can most definitely be a lesson for us all on how we should move in silence, how we don't really need to be boastful or proud when we prosper, whether it's financially or even spiritually. A lot of people gain a lot of knowledge and head knowledge, and they start throwing out all of this stuff and seeming like they know more than everybody else, unwilling to learn and be humble. So it's very important for us to remain humble. And if we do slip, because everybody will slip, be open and willing to receive correction, because we can be stripped to the bone of everything in just a moment. And like Sylvie said, we will own what matters, which is our salvation. If we continue to pursue it, we must endure until the end, because the word says in Matthew 24:13, the one who endures to the end shall be saved. It's an ongoing thing that I've been hearing lately, and I've been talking to people who don't understand that salvation isn't a one-time prayer that you make that you are gonna be saved and inherit the kingdom of God because you said a prayer. No, this is an ongoing process, a day-to-day sanctification process that we all must go through. And there's a delicate balance that we have to have between engaging with the world and maintaining spiritual integrity, because of course we are in this world but not of it, but we are still here and now. So our interface or our interaction with the world should always be aligned with spiritual principles. So I want to read some of the comments that we have here in the chat. Eileen said, every day dying to your flesh. And Yasmin mentioned the 7 churches, how they're all called to endure. Exactly. Oh, Jessica, that's okay. That's okay. I don't know if, well, yeah, we have 2 chapters to go. Tonight's gonna be a little bit short because we have chapter 39 that's kind of short. But let me go into the connections really quick. I just have a few here that tie in with some of the precepts. So again, 2 Chronicles 32 also ties in with chapter 39 of Isaiah. 20 verses 25 through 26 says, but Hezekiah rendered not again according to the benefit done unto him, for his heart was lifted up. Therefore there was wrath upon him and upon Judah and Jerusalem. Notwithstanding, Hezekiah humbled himself for the pride of his heart, both he and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so that the wrath of the Adon came not upon them in the days of Hezekiah. So again, he was told that this was going to happen, but he received the assurance that it wouldn't happen in his lifetime. We have Deuteronomy 28:49, and this is one of this, if you know Deuteronomy 28, it's the blessings and the curses for keeping his commandments. So verse 49 says, the Adon shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. This is, in that time, it was in reference to Babylon. And in our time, it's, we also have a threat that may be coming. I actually shared with, well, I think everybody here, maybe except for Anita. My son is on a fishing trip this weekend with his uncle, and they were out like deep in the waters. He said close. They were so far that they were a few about 30 miles, I think was what he told me, from Cuba. And he said that they saw Russian airplanes flying over, like towards, like near the US, near our country, near this country. So it, that threat has been close by for a while. It's just a matter of time before an attack actually officially takes place. And we've spoken about these powers, the 2, the BRIC and the union with the Arabians and Russia and all of that that's taking place. So we'll see what ends up happening. Now we have 2 Kings 24 and 2 Kings 25, a few precepts here as well. And then Jeremiah 20 and 5. So I'll read through these, and these tie in with that proclamation that Isaiah made to Hezekiah. The time will surely come when everything in your palace and all that your predecessors have stored up until this day will be carried off to Babylon. So the 2 Kings precept says, and Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, and this was now in the time after Hezekiah. And Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother and his servants and his princes and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Adon and the treasures of the king's house and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Adon, as the Adon had said. And then 2 Kings 25:13-15 says, and the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Adon, and the bases, and the brazen sea that was in the house of the Adon, did the Chaldees break in pieces, and carried the brass of them to Babylon, and the pots, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and the spoons, and all the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered, took they away, and the fire pans, and the bowls, and such things as were of gold in gold, and of silver in silver, the captain of the guard took away. And if you know, the Chaldees is also is another name for the Egyptians, because they were obviously in alliance with Babylon, working with them. They all gathered together to come against Jerusalem. Then we have Jeremiah 20:5 that says, moreover, I will deliver all the strength of this city and all the labors thereof, and all the precious things thereof, and all the treasures of the kings of Judah will I give into the hands of their enemies, which shall spoil them and take them and carry them to Babylon. And Jessica, I think this is Jessica, right? Yes, Jessica shared Matthew 6:8. And this is so good. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Absolutely, 100%. That is what we look forward to, because when these things are happening, and we know that our redemption draws nigh and our Messiah will be coming. And I have Daniel 1 here because this is the beginning of the exile. So I just wanted to read this portion. So Daniel 1:1-7 says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Adon gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of the Adon, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake to Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the Adon, or before the king. Now among these were the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. And you know that these were the faithful servants of the Most High, who were there in Babylon, who no matter what, they would not bow down. And they were in the exile. So this just goes to show that what Isaiah had proclaimed 60-something years before, it ended up taking place. Yes, the Hebrew boys in the fire. And then lastly, this precept in 1 Peter 5:6 ties in with verse 8. And it says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of Haya, that he may exalt you in due time. So no matter what, humility is key. That's what we need to cling to, hold on to. So that's chapter 39. Again, that one was very short. Who is able to read chapter 40?
I could read.
Okay. Let's start with the first 5 verses.
Okay. O ye prophets, prophesy comforts to my people, says your Elohim. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and prophesy concerning her, that she should be filled with the people of the captivity, because her sins are forgiven, for she has received the cup of consolation from the Most High, as if she had been smitten twice for all her sins. A voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way before the people of the Most High. Cast up a highway in the plain before the congregation of our Elohim. All the valleys shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the rugged away shall be a level, and the hilly ground a valley. And the glory of the Most High shall be revealed, and all the sons of flesh shall see together, that by the word of the Most High it has been decreed thus.
Sorry, I was drinking water. All right. So I love this chapter, and it has so much hope. The heading in my canon, the NIV says comfort for highest people. Here it says the greatness of the Most High. So we see that this is a chapter of hope. First, we start off with this proclamation, or with this instruction here, and I have a Strong's explanation to cover tonight with this, just because of what the word represents. So we have comfort ye, my people, saith your Elohim. And we have with the word comfort, it's in Hebrew is naham. So naham is defined as comfort, repentance, comforter, and ease, to be sorry, be moved to pity, to have compassion, to suffer grief, to comfort oneself, to console. And the first letter of this word, of course, is the word N. So if we go to the ancient Hebrew, I've been sharing this for the last few weeks as well, the pictographs, we have the letter Nun, which represents a seed, fish, and life. So the seed, the word comfort, and this particular chapter is a set of instructions to the people, to the Most High's people, about his goodness, about what he's going to do for them, right? So this is a potential for spiritual growth through being comforted. And what kind of comfort is it? It's divine comfort in his word, through worship, through reading his word, through prayer. And what does it do when you read the word? What happens to us when we read the word? If we're able to actually dive deep into the word, we see it as a reflection, right? And it begins to change the frequency, the brain chemistry, our perception of the world. I had like a huge like aha moment when I started. I think it was before we started these studies with the book of Isaiah in the beginning, when his mouth is purified. And then when you also think about the scrolls, and John is instructed in Revelations to eat the scrolls, and when he eats the scrolls, they first taste like honey, and then his stomach becomes sour, and all of that. When you think about it, we know that the word that honey is a representation of wisdom. So when you gain wisdom in the word, and you start to see this world you become sick to your stomach just looking at everything that's going on. So that causes like a shift in your mind to say, I don't want to be like this world. I don't want to be part of it, and I don't want to partake in the things of this world. So that's just that part. I know it's a lot just in that one section there, but this word comfort, it's really, he's really telling us like, stand in me, stand on my word. Every one of us that is sincerely devoted to follow Yeshua HaMashiach all have to go through wilderness experiences. And we are tried and we are tested with mountains and valleys, all to get us to an expected end. And that's what he's speaking on here. So with verse 3, I'm sure everybody was able to identify this particular precept in the book of John, in the book of Mark. We see this is obviously John the Baptist who's speaking, or yes, it's John the Baptist who's speaking. It's not speaking of him. He says, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Adon, make his path straight. He was speaking of our Messiah. We also have Malachi and Exodus 23:20. Malachi 3:1 says, behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Adon whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith the Adon of hosts. And Exodus 23:20 says, behold, I send an angel before thee, to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beautiful, beautiful. Then I wanted to read in from the Septuagint verse 4, because it ties in with a precept in Luke a little bit more specifically. So it says, every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be brought low, and all the crooked ways shall become straight, and the rough places plains. And Luke 3:5 says, every valley, it's pretty much word for word, every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be brought low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough ways shall be made smooth. So I love also how the Septuagint, how the Targums, they just really get the essence of the word more specifically and in a deeper way. So that's why I wanted to read that. We can continue now. I'm just trying to see where to stop now. Read until verse 17, Seeley.
Okay. The voice of one crying, prophesy. He answered and said, what shall I prophesy? All the wicked are as grass, and all their strength as chaff of the field. The grass withered, its flowers faded, because the Spirit of the Most High bloweth upon it. Surely the wicked among the people are considered like grass. The wicked dieth, and his thoughts perish. But the word of our Elohim shall stand forever. Upon a high mountain get up, ye prophets, that bring good tidings into Zion. Lift ye up your voice with strength, that bring good tidings to Jerusalem. Lift it up, be not afraid. Say to the cities of the house of Judah, kingdom of your Elohim is revealed. Behold, that Elohim should be revealed, and the strength of the arm of his might shall rule before him. Behold, the reward of those who perform his word is with him, because their works are manifest to him. He shall feed those that are of his flock like a shepherd, and shall gather the lambs with his arm, and he shall carry the tender ones in his bosom. He shall lead gently those that give suck. He who has promised these things shall confirm them. he has spoken it, and he will do it. He in whose sight all the waters of the world are accounted as a drop in the hollow of the hand, and the expansion of the heavens as if they had been prepared with the span, and the dust of the earth as if measured in a measure, and the mountains as if weighted in scale, and the hills in a balance. Who has directed the Holy Spirit in the mouth of all the prophets? Is it not the Most High? He maketh known the words of his will to the righteous, the servant of his word. I will make known wisdom to them who pray for it from him, and I will teach them the way of justice. Yeah, he will give the law to their sons, and he will make known to their sons' sons the path of understanding. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, the isles are as fine dust that flieth away, and the trees of Lebanon are not sufficient for fire, nor the beast in it sufficient for a holocaust. All the nations are nothing, their works are accounted before him as naught.
Thank you. So this gives again a different perspective, particularly verse 12. And I'm gonna go back to the other areas, but I wanted to read this first because verse 12 in the canon is a question, is posed as questions. So it says, who hath measured the waters in the hollow on his hand, and meted out heaven with a span, and comprehended the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scales, and the hills in a balance? Here it's plainly saying it. It is the Most High. He who hath promised these things shall confirm them. He hath spoken it, and he will do it. So we see again how the Targum is just a little bit more detailed and specific. But in this portion and in the rest of the chapter, Isaiah is really looking beyond the literal to the spiritual condition of the people, the desolation within the heart of man, where there's hopelessness and chaos surrounding us. Yet if we cling to the word of truth, which is our Mashiach and his Ruach Kodesh dwelling inside us, we will be those who endure until the end and be saved. Verse 6 in particular is more imagery on the temporary and transient aspect of our existence here in this realm. And the difference between us and the rest of creation is that we're compelled to reflect on this. So obviously, animals are not gonna think about this. Like it doesn't, it's us. We're the ones who were created in his image and likeness. So we have that tendency to look back and reflect on things. And maybe not so much, I mean, there could be people who say that they're dying to themselves, they don't care about leaving this world, that they just want to be with Messiah. Yes, that could all be right and true, but we also think about our loved ones. So in a sense, all of us have something that we are clinging to in this world in one way or another, and it feels heavy. But verse 6, as I said, going back to that, it talks about he answered and said, and this is speaking about the wicked, right? So it says, he answered and said, what shall I prophesy? All the wicked are as grass, and all their strength as chaff of the field. So we know that the wheat and the tares, or the wheat and the chaff is what kind of like flies off easily when you make the separation. So we have a connecting precept here with James. And actually, I put it twice, but I'm going to read 10 through 11. It says, but the rich in that he is made low, because as the flower of the grass he shall pass away. For the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withereth the grass, and the flower thereof falleth, and the grace of the fashion of it perisheth. And so shall the rich man fade away in his ways. So again, we see James is making this comparison of the flowers to the flowers of the field, to show that the prosperous, even the kings of the earth, even the influential, are equal in their transient nature, in the sense of that they're the dust of the earth just like us. Then we also have 1 Peter 1, 24 and 25. For all flesh is as grass, and all the glory of man as the flower of grass. So again, the glory of man, I guess you could say, those who have status or influence. The grass withereth, and the flower thereof falleth away. But the word of the Adon endureth forever. And this is the word which by the gospel is preached unto you. So, it's very evident that although this earthly realm would pass away, we still have the word that endures, the word that will live on forever. And yeah, all of us. It's grievous to think about our loved ones who are not walking in the ways of the Most High, and you think about what their end could possibly be if they don't turn away from the life that they live. And the best thing that we can do is continue to pray and trust and believe that one day they are going to have a light bulb turn on, or the veils removed, the scales removed. Just keep on standing on those promises and having that hope that that's what will end up happening. Because at the end of the day, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess, right? That Yasha HaMashiach is the Adon. So we just have to hope. We just have to hope that our loved ones will be part of the ones who are in the sheepfold as well. So continuing, I don't want to get emotional.
Oh, Steffi. Dang. I was thinking about it today. I was like, I always think about our families. It's like the biggest thing. And like how we're so passionate, and I wish people, a lot around us had that same passion that you grew up with and you've shared so much with. I feel like that's better than any other, you know, blessing we could get that we want.
It's hard because people in this world think that what they're doing is harmless, and they don't realize that they're just in partaking in the ways of this world, they're condemning themselves. And it's heartbreaking. But let's continue.
Yeah.
Verse 10. Verse 10, we have, with the second portion of it, says, behold, the reward of those who perform his word is with him, because their works are manifest unto him. And again, this is a promise. This is for those who endure, those who are keeping his Torah, those who are following his ways. We have Revelation 7 and then verse 12. Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keep the sayings of the prophecy of this book. And behold, I come quickly. My reward is with me to give every man according to his work shall be. So there is a reward for those who follow him. And I mean, we may say, oh no, I don't want any reward or anything like that. Yes, of course. I mean, not in this earth, not in this realm, but who doesn't want that crown, who doesn't want to know that they are able to achieve that status of being the very elect who stood for him and is not going to be in the lake of fire, thrown into the lake of fire where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. I for one, more than anything, just want to hear well done, so that's the goal and that's the pursuit. So with verse 11, we have Matthew 18:10 through 13. And verse 11 said, he shall feed those that are of his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm, and he shall carry the tender ones in his bosom, and he shall lead gently those that give suck. So Matthew 18:10 through 13 says, take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. How think ye, if a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray? And I love this precept. Doth he not leave the 99 and goeth into the mountains and seeketh that which is gone astray? And if so be that he find, verily I say unto you, he rejoiceth more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. So we know that just as much as we want our loved ones to be saved, our Heavenly Father and our Messiah want them to be saved as well. And there's rejoicing when they give their lives over to him and when they surrender. So hope, just nothing but hope. We just got to have hope and continue to pray. And then we have Daniel 4:35, which ties in with verse 17 that says, all nations are as nothing, their works are accounted before him as naught. And Daniel 4:35 says, and all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. So here it's speaking of nations. So of course the nations is the people. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? That means don't question him, basically. There was a reference to idols here, and it kind of reminded me of the chapter 10 in Jeremiah, which Jeremiah 10 is about, well, we understand it as being about Christmas, the Christmas tree. And this is about wooden, like the images, the wooden, this one is goldsmith overlay with gold, silver chains, silversmith, silver chains, a silversmith fasteneth it. But then here we see, verse 20 says, he cuts a wild ash of the forest, which rottenness will seize. He procures a skillful artist to fix the image that it be not moved. Oh, actually, we read through verse 17, right? Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. So I'm sorry, Sylvie, let's continue. You can read through the end of the chapter.
Okay. And whom do you think able to contend with the Most High? And what is the likeness that ye can compare with him? Behold, the artificer maketh an image, and the goldsmith overlayeth it with gold, and with silver chains the silversmith fasteneth it. He cuts a wild ash of the forest, which rottens will seize. He procures a skilled artist to fix the image, that it be not move. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Hath not the work in the creation been declared unto you in its order from the beginning? Have ye not understood that ye ought to fear him who hath created the foundations of the earth? Who maketh the Shekinah of his glory to dwell in exalted strength, and all the inhabitants of the earth are in his estimation as locusts. He that stretched out the heavens as a little thing, and spreadeth them out as the tent of the glory of the house of the Shekinah, who gives princes over the wickedness, and the judges of the earth he brings to naught. Although they multiply, although they increase, although their children become great in the earth, yet nevertheless he will send his wrath among them, and they shall be confounded, and his word shall scatter them, as the whirlwind the chaff. To whom then will ye liken me? And to whom will ye equal me? Saith the Holy One. Lift up your eyes on high, and behold, that ye may fear him who has created these things, who bringeth forth the host of the heavens by number. He calls them by their name, on account of the combination of forces and might of power. No one is hindered in its orb. Why sayest thou, Jacob, and speaketh, Israel? My way is hid from the Most High, and my cause is removed from my Elohim. Hast thou not known, yea, hast thou not heard that everlasting Elohim, the Most High, who has created the foundation of the earth, is not fatigued, neither is weary. There is no end to his wisdom. Who giveth wisdom to the righteous that long for the words of the law, and to those who have not strength, he multiplieth strength. And the wicked youth shall be fatigued and shall be weary, and the impious young men shall utterly fall. But they that hope for the salvation of the Most High should be gathered together from the midst of their captivity, and shall increase their strength, and their youth should be renewed like a sprout in the springeth up. They shall hasten upon the wings of the eagle and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint.
Amen. That's also another of my favorite precepts. And again, I love how Isaiah renders verse 31 here. But let's go back where I was speaking of earlier. So with verse 20, as I was saying earlier, is referencing the cutting of trees to procure an image. In the canon, let's see, it says, he that is so impoverished that he hath no oblation chooses a tree that will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image that shall not be moved. And this is why I thought about the Christmas tree, because as we know, the fir trees, they don't require a lot of maintenance when they're placed, when they're stood up, and they're fastened with, like, they have like a stand, and then they're fastened with screws. I'm sure you all know, probably everybody here has decorated a Christmas tree in their lifetime, so you know what that looks like. So we have Jeremiah 10 verses 2-4 that says, thus saith the Adon, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. So this one, obviously, it's a little bit more descriptive. as it relates to if we're thinking about Christmas with the silver and gold and all of that. But yeah, that's what I thought about with that particular precept. So basically just a reminder to not follow the ways of this world. Now verses 21 and verses 25 are two rhetorical questions, because there's I don't know exactly what precept it is that speaks about how before the Son of Man returns, that everyone will know about him. Everyone will receive the gospel in one way or another. If you step outside and you look at creation, I mean, I would think like the third world countries don't necessarily have the education about the Big Bang Theory, because that's all in man-made books, right? That's just my assumption. So there has to be a semblance of a thought of creation and there being an Elohim, a God who created all things. So there's this universal revelation of the Most High and creation as we know it. May not look like what we think or what we would expect for every single person in this world to receive the gospel and hear about God and about the Messiah. But I believe personally that that has already happened, that has already come to pass. But anyway, these two precepts connect with two other ones that kind of put it together. So verse 21 says, have ye not known, have ye not heard, hath it not been told to you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? And again, this is a rhetorical question. So we have Romans 1:9 that says, for Haya is my witness, whom I serve with my spirit in the gospel of his Son, that without ceasing I make mention of you always in my prayer. Well, actually, no, it wasn't 9. Sorry, let me see. I think it was, maybe it was 19. Yeah, it was 19. Let me fix it here really quick. Okay. So Romans 1:19 says, because that which may be known of Haya is manifest in them, for Haya hath showed it unto them. So basically speaking, once again, he's made himself known to all of creation in one way, shape, or another, in some way, shape, or form, basically. We'll go back to verse 25, but I wanted to speak about verse 22 really quick because I don't know if y'all notice, but here in 22 it says, it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth. This right here describes the shape of the earth, not a sphere, but a plane, flat, that he is sitting on top of, right? And the heavens being as a curtain that's spread out as a tent, as a sukkah, the firmament, right? So this precept right here just reminds me of a confirmation that our earth is flat. And we have a few connecting scriptures. Psalm 104 verse 2 says, "Who covereth thyself with light as with a garment, who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain." Same concept. And then Proverbs 8:26 and 29. "While as yet he had not made the earth nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world, when he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree, that the water should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth." And Proverbs 8 is a beautiful supplement or to the creation, to Genesis 1 and 2. But this also brings up Messiah, how Messiah was there during creation. From the beginning, he's been there. Then we have another Sirach precept here. And this is all with verses 22 and 23, I think. This one, let's see. Yeah, this one connects with verses 23 and 24. And it says, "Moses ordained him and anointed him with holy oil. It was an everlasting covenant for him and for his descendants as long as the heavens endure, to minister to the Adon and serve as priest and bless his people in his name. He chose him out of all the living to offer sacrifice to the Adon, incense and a pleasing odor as a memorial portion to make atonement for the people. In his commandments, he gave him authority and statutes and judgments to teach Jacob the testimonies and to enlighten Israel with his law." Oh no, this is not it. I'm so sorry. I just read this whole thing and it's for chapter 42. That's why I was like, wait, this doesn't sound okay. Sorry about that. "I will now call to mind the works of the Adon and will declare what I have seen. By the word of the Adon, his works are made, and all his creatures do his will. The sun looks down on everything with its light, and the work of the Adon is full of his glory. The Adon has not empowered even his holy ones to recount all his marvelous works. For the Adon, the Almighty, has established so that the universe may stand firm in his glory." Stand firm. So all of the rotation stuff and all of that is debunked here as well. And again, this goes with verse 22 about the earth and its shape and how everything is established and set. And that wasn't supposed to be John 1:15 through 17 either. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. I was like, I don't know what was going on when I was typing this up tonight.
Didn't we cover that that verse in like the beginning? That was the one that you were looking for?
Maybe,
Back to my notes.
possibly.
No, it was John 11:9.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know we covered a John precept. No, but this is just the one of creation. John 1 through 5. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Haya, and the word Mashiach was Haya. The same was in the beginning with Haya. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of man, and the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. So this is just another reference and confirmation that Mashiach was there during creation. And it was the working of his hands that created all things. Okay, so now going back to the other rhetorical question in verse 25 that says, "To whom then will ye liken me, or shall I be equal, saith the Holy One?" So we know, of course, we were made in his image and likeness, but Messiah said unto them in John 14:9, "Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father, and how sayest thou then, show us the Father?" So here we see the echad once again, in the intimate connection between Abba and Yasha, and that oneness, but also that they are two entities in the same way. So that's just what I wanted to share with that particular rhetorical question that's listed in verse 25. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in chapter 41, so I don't want to go too deep in it. So we have also Psalm 147 verses 2-6 that says, "The Adon doth build up Jerusalem, he gathereth together the outcasts of Israel. He healeth the broken in heart, and bindeth up their wounds. He telleth the number of the stars, he called them all by their names. Great is our Adon, and of great power. His understanding is infinite. The Most High lifteth up the meek, he casteth the wicked down to the ground." And Genesis 1:16, "And Haya made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also." And these both tie in with verse 26, which speaks about the mighty ones, the stars. "Lift up your eyes on high, and behold who hath created these things, that bringeth out their host by number. He calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might, for he is strong in power, not one faileth." I wanted to read in the Septuagint, verse 27. It just gives a little bit more details here too. "For say not thou, O Jacob, and why hast thou spoken, Israel, saying, My way is hid from Haya, and my Haya has taken away my judgment and has departed." And here, why sayest thou, O Jacob, and speakest, O Israel, my way is hid from the Adon, and my judgment is passed over from my God. So the difference, "and my Haya has taken away my judgment and has departed." So it's almost like, if you think about his presence leaving him, or leaving Israel, leaving them alone. And then finally, we have just a few precepts here that just remind us to find joy in the wilderness, with the hope that's in verse 31. Once again, that says, "But they that wait upon the Most High shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." So we have, to start off, Revelations 12:13-17. "And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man, the child, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman. And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Haya, and have the testimony of Yasha HaMashiach. And that's us. If you think about it, how can this be his chosen people over there in the land of Israel if they do not have the testimony of the Messiah? It just doesn't make sense. So we also have Exodus 19:4-6. Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And lastly, Galatians 6:9, that says, and let us not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. So just stay the course. Silvi said lately I've been tying sayings with Bible verses. Here's one.
Yeah, like trágame tierra, because you're like in a bad situation. Look at it right there. Like for everything. Like I'm like, wait, I read that in the Bible somewhere.
It's true
That's where
though.
that come from. That's
You'd
where like
you'd be
nothing is.
surprised.
Yeah, nothing is man created.
Exactly. And they try to replicate so many things. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Trágame tierra.
yeah. Look where it comes from.
Yeah. Oh, wow. How funny. All right. So last chapter for the night. We have chapter 41. Is anyone able to read?
I can
Keep
read.
reading. Oh,
Thank you, Anita. You can read from 1 to 10 to start.
Okay. Listen unto my word, ye islands, and let the kingdoms increase their strength. Let them come nigh, then let them speak. Let us approach one another for judgment. Who openly brought Abraham from the east? He brought the chosen of the righteous in truth to his place. He delivered up nations before him and broke in pieces mighty kings. He cast the slain down like the dust before his sword, and he pursued them like stubble before his bow. He pursued them and passed safely by. The roughness of the past shall not affect his feet. Who hath promised these things and established them? Who hath spoken, and it was done? And who hath ranged the generations in their order from the beginning? I, the Adon, I created the worlds from the beginning. Yea, ages after ages are mine, and besides me there is no Elohim. The isles shall see and be afraid. They that are at the ends of the earth shall tremble. They shall draw nigh, they shall come. Let everyone help his neighbor, and everyone say to his brother, be of good courage. Shall they not be confounded in their works? Because the artificer encourageth the silversmith, and he that smiteth with the great hammer, him that smiteth with the small. It is time, one saith, for the soldering, it is ready. He fastened it with nails, that it may not be moved. But thou, Israel, my servant Jacob, in whom I delight, the seed of Abraham, my friend. And I brought thee out of the families of the earth. I have chosen thee out of a kingdom. And I have said unto thee, thou art my servant, I delight in thee. and I will not trust thee away. Fear not, for my word shall be thy support. Be not dismayed, for I am thy Elohim. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee in the right hand of my truth.
Beautiful. And once again, another beautiful precept for us to stand on here. And what I love again about the Targum is how it's making the separation. Fear not, for my word shall be this thy support. So for my son, the Messiah, shall be thy support. Be not dismayed, for I am thy Elohim. So we see, relying on our Messiah, that is our comfort, that is our support in the trying times. But starting from the beginning, we have verse 1, and here it is referring, Isaiah is referring to the islands. He's saying, listen unto my word, ye islands. And this is basically those who have been scattered across the nations to different lands. So basically those who are in exile. So here he says, let the kingdoms increase their strength. Let them come nigh, let them speak. Let us approach one another for judgment. In the canon, it adds a little bit more actually. Right? Here it says, listen unto my word. And in the canon, it says, keep silence before me. So if you put those two together, basically it's saying, take pause, seek meaning, surrender. This verse is basically happening right now. We're all of us here are in deep introspection daily on this narrow path as we've been awakened, and more are doing the same. So it's like we come together, come near together to judgment. Like we read the word, we read the scriptures, we break things down, and we come to realize, okay, we need to change this area of our lives. We need to do this differently. We need to correct this and do that. You know, we're all on the narrow path, seeking the ancient path, trying to do things in a better manner so that we are able to enter into his eternal rest together. Now, what I said earlier about the Ahad, the oneness, that connection, there's a certain doctrine that's been going around, kind of trying to cancel out the name of our Messiah altogether. And obviously we know that there is a unity between our Messiah and between the Father, right? But it's also very scripturally clearly defined that there's a plurality. It's not one. When you look at the Shema prayer, and it says, and we're gonna go there in a minute, but we spoke about it. We've spoken about it before as well, and I'm gonna read it from the Targum, because once again, the Targum always comes through with a little bit more details. But let me pull it up really quick. Just to the thought about my thought with not identifying the Messiah, because we know, of course, yes, the Father is the creator, Messiah is him in the flesh. We are still to identify the Messiah, because the Messiah is the one who walked on this earth and worked the miracles and gave the example of how we should live, and also made the distinction between who to pray to and who to pray in the name of. So there is a distinction. So I'm going to read, let me see, where is it? Deuteronomy 6:4. I'm trying to see because I'm just gonna read the whole portion of it. It was when the time came that our father Jacob should be gathered out of the world, he was anxious lest there might be an idolater among his sons. He called them and questioned them, "Is there such perversity in your hearts?" They answered, all of them together, and said to him, "Hear Israel, our father. The Adon, our Elohim, is one Adon." And Jacob made response and said, "Blessed be his glorious name forever and ever." I'm going to read it in the canon also, because I believe I included it here in this multiverse connections. I did. So it says here, and it has it pretty much the same. "Hear, O Israel, the Adon, our Elohim, is one Adon." Puppy, go over there. Hold on, I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. So yeah, Deuteronomy 6:4. And I know that we've already gone in depth about it in previous studies. But there's a lot of people out there that are proclaiming false doctrines, and I would say even demonic doctrines, that if you don't have this plurality and oneness revelation between the Father and the Son, then you can easily be bewitched. And it's kind of like that Jehovah Witness mentality, I would say, where they don't identify or acknowledge our Mashiach either. Yes, exactly, Eileen. It's like they're one and the same, but they're also separate. And I agree. I don't think that we'll understand exactly how, because we don't know what our Heavenly Father physically looks like, but we know that our Mashiach, he walked on this earth physically in the flesh. Who could Messiah have been praying to when he was praying all the times that he went off to pray, you know? He was praying to his Heavenly Father. And he says, "I and the Father are one." So he's making that distinction. He makes the distinction, and it's very clear cut. It's like you have to be willing to see it. You have to be able to see it. I think I have a few other precepts here. So first we have Revelations 1:8 and verse 17 as well. And this is because in verse 4, as I mentioned, this is also with the plurality, seeing the two of them. "Who hath wrought and done it, calling the generations from the beginning? I, the Adon, the first, and with the last I am he." So it's like he's also saying, like, he's the beginning and the end, but the Father is as well. So let's just read the connecting precepts. And we know that this is in the Greek, but Alpha and Omega also is Aleph and Tav. So Revelations 1 verse 8 says, "I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Adon, which is and which was and which is to come, the Almighty." And if you've read the book of Revelations, or if you haven't, in the beginning of the book, it speaks about that this book is the revelation of Yasha HaMashiach to John. So this is him speaking. This is the Messiah speaking. Yes, Sylvie, exactly. Genesis also at the beginning says, "Let's create man in our image and likeness." So we know also, and obviously we don't know what Adam and Eve looked like before they fell, before the fall took place, right? Because they could have been light type of beings, who were then covered in flesh after that whole exchange took place. I don't necessarily know. I'm not even gonna pretend to know exactly what that looked like, but there's a lot of depth to it when you think about it. Eileen said Rob Skiba explains somewhat like this. He says that it's like the Father took his hands and created his Son from them, so that are the same, but two entities. Yes, exactly. I think I heard Rob Skiba speak that as well on a podcast that I listened to by him. So yeah, it's a mystery, but at the same time, those who want to understand will have that understanding and know. I mean, to deny the Son is to deny the Father. I don't know how else to put it, to be honest. So to continue, we also have verse 17 that said, and when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead, and he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, fear not, I am the first and the last. And then Revelation 22:12, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according to his work shall be. No, this was supposed to be the other precept, and there's another precept in Revelation 22 that also says, and I'm not gonna go back and add it in because I don't want to prolong the time more, but let me just read it from my Bible. But it's also in Revelations 22, a second witness to him stating that he is the beginning and the end. So it's actually verse 13, and it says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. And Eileen said, that is why in the word it says that he is in the right hand. He is his right hand, and everything was created through him, the Messiah. Yes, exactly. And he's seated on the right hand of the throne of the Most High. So if he's seated on the right hand of the throne, then who's on the throne, you know? And like I said earlier, he says in John 10:30, I and my father are one. So this shows you too, he's saying he's my father too. He's our father. He's Messiah's father as well. That's why we are not to pray to Messiah, but we're to pray in his name, if that makes sense too. I think that's it as far as the connections, because then I have more like stuff that brings everything else together. Oh no, I wanted to share about Abraham, because we see in verse 8 that it speaks about Abraham. Yes. But thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. In Hebrews 2:16, the Apostle Paul observes that Mashiach doesn't take mighty ones by the hand, but he speaks about his friends, about Abraham, his friend. Excuse me. So Hebrews 2:16 says, for verily he took not on him the nature of angels, but he took him the seed of Abraham. And then James 2:23, and the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, Abraham believed Yasha, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of the Most High because of his righteousness. So his righteousness took him a long way. And then we have verse 9. Thou whom I have taken from the ends of the earth and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, thou art my servant. I have chosen thee and not cast thee away. So let's read Acts 18:10 that says, for I am with thee, and no man shall set on thee to hurt thee, for I have much people in this city. That's just a connection there that he was saying pretty much. Well, oh no, well, this is actually with verse 10 that says, fear thou not, for I am with thee, be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yeah, I will help thee. Yeah, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. And again, and as Eileen said, he's speaking of the right hand of his righteousness. We are upheld by our Messiah, who is the right hand of the righteousness of the Most High. And Jeremiah 18, or no, Jeremiah 1:8. Be not afraid of their faces, for I am with thee to deliver thee, saith the Most High. The Amplified Version, which I don't have it here, but it says, do not be afraid of them or their hostile faces, for I am with you always to protect you and to deliver you. So we know that if we have him, we have everything that we need, and we're going to be protected. So with that being said, we can continue. I know this chapter is a little bit long, but we have just a little more to go. Anita, you can read. Let's complete this portion here, 11 through 16, and then we'll read the rest of it after that, the rest of the chapter.
Okay. Behold, all the nations that are incensed against thee shall be ashamed and confounded. They shall be as nothing, and they that strive with thee shall perish. Thou shalt seek them, and thou shalt not find them. Even them that contend with thee, they shall be as nothing. The men that stir themselves up to make war with thee shall be less than nothing. For I am the Elohim, thy Adon, that will hold thee fast by thy right hand, who saith unto thee, Fear not, my word shall be thy help. Fear ye not, ye tribes of the house of Jacob, ye seed of Israel, my word shall be your help, with the Adon and your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, I will make you a mighty threshing instrument full of sharp edges. Thou shalt slay the nations. Thou shalt consume the kingdoms. Thou shalt make them like chaff. Thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away. And my word shall scatter them as the whirlwind scattereth the chaff. But as for thee, thou shalt rejoice in the word of the Elohim. Thou shalt glory in the Holy One of Israel.
Amen. So again, every time we see the word, we are reminded of our Messiah. And that's what he was sent to be, our helper to guide us into the commandments, to keep them and to be in covenant with our Heavenly Father. So some connections that, well, I have several here. To bridge verse 10, which is the fear not, to verse 15, behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shall make the hills as chaff. And I see that as like when we receive our new garments, our new titles as his children forevermore. So to start off, we see Revelation 7:1 that says, and after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And this one is actually, I should have read that one with verse 9 earlier. That says, thou whom I have taken from the ends of the earth and called thee from the chief men thereof, and said unto thee, thou art my servant, I have chosen thee and not cast thee away. Okay, continuing. John 15:14, ye are my friends if ye do whatsoever I command you. And that is also with verse 8. I don't know why I had that so far down, but yes, this is also with verse 8, John 15:14. Okay, so Philippians 4:6, be careful or be anxious. This one, other translations say be anxious for nothing. But in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto Haya. And this is connecting to verse 10, of course, to not be fearful and know that he is with us. And I already read Exodus 19:5 earlier, but this is again a confirmation. Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And Deuteronomy 7:6-7, for thou art unholy people unto the Adon thy Elohim. The Adon thy Elohim hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Adon did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. So this is again just speaking on his people who he selected, who he has hand selected to be his elect ones. Matthew 28:15. This is what I was speaking of as far as like bridging the two from not fearing and being made into a threshing sledge. When the Messiah was close to his death, he gave instruction to his disciples. First, he appointed the 12, then he appointed 70, and they went 2 by 2 and started proclaiming the gospel, healing the sick, working miracles, and bringing more sheep into the sheepfold. And that's basically what we're getting here. Is from that portion. So they took the money and did as they were taught, and this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. They were commissioned to disciple the nations, to disciple the people, and to go after the people for the Most High. And this is what we are being commissioned to do as well, to not fear and do the work, the work in the threshing floor. There's a passage, and I believe it's I'm reading Luke right now, and it says the one who does not put his hand to the plow is not fit for the kingdom of God. And that basically says, like, if you're not willing to go out there and try to bring more people and just keep this knowledge to yourself, then what good are you doing for the kingdom? So we must be about our Father's business, just like the Messiah was from the beginning. If you remember in the Gospels, what it speaks about, when he was 12 years old, he was there sitting in the temple after his parents had gone. They had all gone up to Jerusalem for a census, and his parents traveled for a day before they realized that they had lost him. And when they went back and they found him, he was in the temple teaching and also learning, but the priests were like in awe of the knowledge and the wisdom that he had, because he was about his Father's business. So that's what we are to be as well. Next we have, with verse 15, Daniel 2:34, that says, thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces. And that basically is speaking about how here, again, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shall make the hills as chaff. So if you think about what Daniel is speaking of here, it's breaking idols, like breaking down, like tearing the idols down, basically. So if we're doing that work of the kingdom, then okay, go upstairs. Then if we're doing the work of the kingdom, then we're basically gonna be tearing down idols as well of this world. And I know that it's a big assignment. It's heavy to think about, you know, having that passion and compassion all at the same time for the kingdom. I actually had a conversation with somebody today. And I wasn't gonna talk about this, but I feel to, who was asking me about, and they live in another country. And they were asking me about what happened with Trump and the assassination attempt or whatever. And the person was like, it seems very strange to me. Like they didn't, they just wanted to know my opinion. And if you know me, it's for me, it's like it's a movie, he's playing a role, right? So that's what I said. And then the person commented, like, very strange things happen in that country, speaking about the United States. And I'm like, yeah, because this is Mystery Babylon. And this is the origination of all of the darkness. All things that are happening here are like as in the days of Noah, and very similar to Sodom and Gomorrah. And it's all written. It all takes place. And like they went very deep as far as like speaking about weather manipulation and all of these things. And I'm like, oh yes, this is awesome. Like I have the perfect opportunity. Let me talk to him about being grafted in. So I mentioned being grafted in and how there's only 12 gates in New Jerusalem, as it says in Revelations, and how we must see ourselves as Israelites, whether bloodborn or adopted, however it might be. When I got into that part of the conversation, he says to me, you seem very passionate about end times, but don't lose sight of the Messiah in the process. I'm like I was scratching my head because I'm like, this is who I'm living for. and I speak about these things because he's coming soon. And and he's who I'm waiting on. Like you don't see like everything that I'm explaining to you. So anyway, I told him to read Romans 11. And if you read Romans 11, it's a beautiful chapter that speaks about the grafting in process and basically how we are not Gentiles. We're, inheritance of Abraham, or descendants of Abraham through adoption. And so anyway, the conversation ended there to sum it up. But those conversations are necessary because I feel like even though he may have put a stop, I feel like it did something anyway. I feel like I planted a seed, and as I was typing up my messages and using Google Translate because it's in Spanish and making sure that I was, making the message as clear as possible, I felt like Abba was leading me, and I can't do this right now. I'm sorry. I don't know how you got that stuck in there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I felt like I was planting a seed, and that's we plant the seed and somebody else may water it. The word itself may water it. Hopefully he'll be compelled to go in and actually read that chapter as I, encouraged him to do. But I say all of that again to say, like, this is what we are being called to do. This is as workmen in the fields gathering the harvest for the Most High. And so the last precept that I have connecting here is Jeremiah 51:2. And it says, and will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her lands, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. And this is speaking of Jerusalem, how Jerusalem was going to be besieged. So with that being said, we can complete the chapter. Anita, you can read on from 17 through 29.
The poor and the needy long after instruction, as the thirsty after water, but do not find it. Their spirit faints in affliction. I, the Adon, will hear their prayer. I, the Elohim of Israel, will not cast them off. I will gather their captives from the midst of the nations, and I will lead them in the right path. And I will open for them rivers in torrent beds and fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the desert pools of water, and the land that is a thirsty place springs of water. I will put cedars, acacias, and myrtles and oil trees in the wilderness. I will make the fir tree, the elm, and the box tree to grow in the desert together, in order that they may see and know and put my fear in their heart, and may consider together that the might of the Adon hath done this, and the Holy One of Israel hath created it. Produce your cause, says the Adon. Bring forth your arguments, saith the King of Jacob. Let them approach and show us what shall happen unto us. Let them declare the former things what they were, that they may consider and know their event, or declare unto us the things that shall come. Declare the things that are to come hereafter, that we may know whether ye worship idols in which there is any profit, whether they are able to do good or to do evil, that we may consider and argue together. Behold, ye are nothing, and your works are to no purpose, that in which ye delight is an abomination. I will certainly bring a king who is mightier than the north wind, and he shall go forth as the going forth of the sun in might from the east. I will strengthen him by my name, and he shall come and tread the rulers of the nations underfoot, as those who tread the dust underfoot, as the potter who prepares the clay. Who hath declared this from the beginning, that we shall know it, and before time that we may say, is it true? Yea, there is none that has foretold it. Yea, none has declared it. Yea, none has heard your words. The words of consolation which the prophets prophesied from old concerning Zion, behold, they shall come to pass. And unto Jerusalem I will give one that bringeth good tidings. And it was made known to me that there was no man whose works were good, and of those there was none of who would take counsel, that I would ask them, and they would answer a word. Behold, all of them are nothing, and their work less than nothing. Their thoughts are plunder and destruction.
All right, thank you so much. So I don't have too much to add as far as commentary. I know I've spoken a lot already today, but let's just go into some connections here. And I had written a long time ago, actually, when I first read this book, that in Isaiah 41:18, it says, I will open rivers in high places and fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water and the dry land springs of water. And there's a song that says he makes a way in the wilderness and he makes rivers in the desert. And that's just a reminder, that whatever's happening in our lives, he's there and he's working. But connecting verse 17, I have Matthew 5:6. So 17 says, when the poor and needy seek water, and there is none, and their tongue faileth for thirst, I, the Adon, will hear them. I, the Elohim of Israel, will not forsake them. And this is from the Beatitudes. So it says, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. So we may see this as something physical, but we can look at it as the poor in spirit, needy seeking water, like as in the living water. And how the Adon will be there. He'll be there and he will provide that living water. For verse 20, it says that they may see and know and consider and understand together that the hand of the Adon hath done this, and the Holy One of Israel hath created it. We have Job 12:9, which says, who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Adon hath wrought this. And again, this book is a book of wisdom. Job is a book of wisdom that speaks of the sovereignty of the Most High. So it just helps us to get a better understanding that he's the one that that allows everything, that creates everything. Silvi, you said the printed book you have cuts off at verse 18?
Yeah, I cut off at 18.
Oh.
And then I thought maybe we'll continue on 42 because it has a whole
Yeah.
bunch of also of like misspelled and punctuation, but I'm like, maybe it continues on 42 and they just misprinted it. But no,
Oh, wow. Okay.
no, it's okay.
All right. Let me see. What else do I have? Okay, verse 23. Verse 23 says, show the things that are to come hereafter, that we may know that ye are gods. Ye do good or do evil, that we may be dismayed and behold it together. John 13:19. Now I tell you before it come, that when it come to pass, ye may believe that I am he. So this one it makes the comparison, of course, to be able to make the distinction between who are the mighty ones and who is the King of Kings. What else? Okay, so verse 24. Behold, ye are nothing, and your work of naught, an abomination is he that chooseth you. So this is again connecting with verse 23 about the idols. So the worshiper who chooses an idol as their God, of course, is detestable. And that's with also connects with 1 Corinthians 8:4. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and there is none other Haya but one. There's no Elohim but our Ahaya. And finally, as I mentioned earlier tonight, this was like an ongoing theme throughout these chapters. The last verse of chapter 41. Behold, they are all vanity. Their works are nothing. Their molten images are wind and confusion. Ecclesiastes 1:1-4. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. So to sum it up, everything in this world will pass away. This earth will pass away, but his word will not pass away. And that is our what we should cling to and where our blessed hope lies in. So thank you so much for joining us. Blessings to everybody. Let me stop the recording.